I'm going to let it go with that because that was like the perfect segue.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ted.
All right.
It's like the cosmos brought him to us. And now we're going to go to Fiora in Ohio, who wants to talk about finding happiness as a nihilist. Hey, Fiora, you're on with Tracie and Jen.
It's actually me. Oh, my God, I'm nervous.
It is you. Imagine, it's you and not someone else. That's
right.
That's where my head is at after the conversation with Ted. You're not you.
So first thing I have to say is thank you for ripping apart Rolando's argument. It makes me very upset when I hear people trying to tell women what they are and are not allowed to do with their own bodies.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Rolando does not understand.
Thank you for
I did not stand in a line when I was produced and say, "Oh yes, I'll take a uterus. Thank you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it just seems so cruel to me because you'll know why in a second. It just seems cruel to tell somebody like that when you don't understand. So I wrote down my stuff here to go fast so I don't ramble.
Perfect.
Quick background: I'm a mid-20s transsexual woman, so I was born biologically male. I'm also a lesbian. So that's a wonderful combination for discrimination already.
Yay, go lesbians.
I was raised in a very religious home in Central Florida and slowly broke out of that over the past 10 or so years. In the past 4 years, I've gone from being an agnostic to an atheist to a few months ago an anti-theist. I'm also a Satanist.
Okay.
I don't particularly like all of those ists, but they're good to be conversation starters.
Oh, the Satanists do good work.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I'm a recent member of the Satanic Temple, so it's atheistic Satanism. I've lost my relationship with pretty much all of my family because of being trans and gay, and I've also dealt with a lot of mental health issues and physical health issues that have been life-threatening a couple times. I'm not saying that to play a victim card.
No.
I say that because it makes me yearn really badly for comfort and love and stability. And I sort of wish I could believe a supposed happy lie like my theistic family members do. I want that sort of grounding, I guess, even though it literally took me like 10 years to pull myself out of that framework, and it was terrifying, but I did it by my own research and listening to people much smarter than me. But I was researching philosophy and discovered that I am apparently an existential nihilist. I didn't know what that was a week ago, but it made me realize that's how I viewed the universe for years. I just didn't have the right term for it. I've always been pretty pessimistic, and although I care really deeply about people and I desperately want a romantic companion, I just see it all as ultimately meaningless. For instance, I ascribe subjective value to things that I want, like my pets being happy or being successful and safe with a home, or sex or whatever.
Right.
But I don't see how they have any objective value, and I don't believe in any higher purpose or fate or anything like that.
Do they need an objective value? Is the fact that you are a being capable of value and that you can assign them value, is that meaningful to you?
I guess, but that gets to what my question is, because people will tell me your life will turn around or, things will work out better in the end, whatever. And I don't necessarily believe in any of that. I just think it's kind of chance.
I don't agree with it either.
In luck.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Let me just, before you go on, and I really appreciate your call, let me just say. But before we go on, I just want to say the reason that I said that Ted's call dovetailed this, right, is that Ted is looking at this and he's saying, we are these tiny blips in an eternal cosmos, and eternal for all we can measure. So he's like, we are these tiny blips in an eternal cosmos, and that is so much reason to be kind, because there's such a limited time and space where horrible things happen to all of us. And so the more that we can add to the positive, that's all the more like obligation he sees in that. Whereas you're kind of looking at it like, and we're just these little blips in this giant cosmos. What is the point?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm sort of kind of the
glass half empty
reaction to his. the antithesis to his view there.
Yeah.
This is the last point of my question, is that assuming my view is at least for the most part true, I'm sure one of you two or, Matt could rip it apart or something. I don't know. But how would someone like this actually find like real, what I would call comfort, like so many theists can have with that, what I think is false belief that somebody's watching out for you.
I have a quick question. I have one question before we proceed with an answer, and you are free to not answer, and I do not want to be too intrusive. So if it's a question that you want to skip. But you mentioned dealing with some mental health problems previously, and I just want to make sure, are any of those problems that might contribute to not being happy?
Some of them are. I have severe depression that I control with medications, but it's a combination of that and anxiety that has made me upset. The problem is I think too much.
Well, those are huge. But those are huge things. I have friends who are on medication for depression. Some have had to change their medication. And even when that happens, even when the medication, quote, works, I don't think people understand this. But when somebody says their medication, is treating it, it doesn't mean that they feel fine. It means that they have some level of not feeling nothing, or not feeling so down, or having this sort of lack of excitement about anything. It's sort of like things are a little better than they were without the medication, from what I understand from my friends who have talked about it.
Yes, that's somewhat true, and I've described it to somebody as depression is not feeling sad. Depression is the opposite of sad. So it's not like I can't find joy. It's like it's more like whatever it is that you like about feeling happy, turn that on its head, and that's what you actively feel. I understand what you're saying about that being why I'm like quote unquote unhappy. What I'm talking about is just setting that aside.
Okay.
If I find in 2 years, say in 2 years my transition is done, I have somebody that I love and loves me back. Maybe I'm even married. I don't know. If I have all of that, I can step back and look at it and say, what's the point? In 60 years, I'm going to be dead. She's going to be dead. Nobody's going to care who I was. I'm a writer. I like to write novels. I finished one recently, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll leave that behind and somebody will, enjoy it. If that's the case, how do I find any real lasting happiness outside of just small things like trying to find a date or trying to finish a project or trying to buy a car?
I might have to pass this off. I might have to pass this to Jen, because in my, I think when I was younger, I used to care whether or not anybody remembered me. Yeah. And then when I got older, I was just sort of like, you know what? As long as I'm happy and as long as I'm cool with what I'm doing, I'm cool. Yeah. And so my life became this sort of search for what really puts a smile on my face. And I surround myself with all the things in life that I enjoy, all the things that, and there are so many people in the world that I know don't even have that opportunity, right? And I'm not saying like, oh, we should be happy because other people don't have that's a ridiculous thing to say. But for me, there's still this sort of acknowledgement that, man, I'm in such a privileged place to be able to just say, I love this thing and I'm going to buy it. Or I like this animal and I'm going to adopt it. Or I would like a kid or not like a kid. Or I would like to knock out a wall in my house. Right now I'm doing a home renovation. I'm so happy to see the house converting to the house I've wanted, right? Like I knew it could be this house, but it wasn't this house when I moved in, and I'm making it the house that I love. And so for me, these types of things like just produce so much joy to know that I can go out and influence the world around me and make it what I want. And what you're basically saying is that you don't get that response. And so for me,
not necessarily though, not necessarily. I bought a motorcycle 2 months ago. One of my most favorite things is to ride that damn motorcycle.
Okay, cool.
I just get on it and I'll just ride 40 minutes one way on the highway just because I enjoy doing it. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is, is that then all the purpose in life, that all the lasting comfort in life I can have?
I don't see it
Just
as a
finding
purpose.
small, short, subjective things to bounce between so that I'm happy every day.
But I look at it like it's almost like somebody's dropping you in this planet or dropping you in this environment, and they're saying, here it is. You have this limited amount of time. Do whatever you want to do with it. And so for me, it's like, oh, I better get on Love and Life because I'm not, there's nothing else. So when you're saying like, is this all there is? I'm kind of looking at it like, oh my gosh, I need to figure out what I love and I need to make the most of this limited time, right? I'm kind of on with Ted about like, I'm just a small blip and so I need to hurry and get all this stuff that I enjoy done, right? And keep doing it and keep surrounding myself with it. And I'm fortunate to be able to have that response. And I get it. I'm not saying like, hey, and you should think of it this way too and change your brain.
Yeah.
But I am saying that I just that I look at it from such a different perspective because I enjoy enjoying so much, right? That I just do all the things that make me happy. If there's something I want to do, I don't sit around thinking, should I do this? Should I not? It's like, no, man, go and do it because you don't know if there's a tomorrow, right? I mean, I went through when I was married, my husband had cancer. And it was a very serious form of cancer that went on for years. And I mean, I literally sat there thinking, wow, I'm going to be a widow in my 30s, right? Like that's what I thought. And so I totally am aware that you have no guarantee for tomorrow. So you need to do it now, man. Just, do the things you want to do. And for me, I do think that is, quote, all there is. But I look at it like, I better get on it. If that's all there is, I'm going to get on it because the alternative is not even that.
Yeah.
think
And
we're
I'm
1
not
minute.
I'm not, I guess what you could say is like a hardcore nihilist that just like wants to lie around and die and not do anything, obviously. I mean, I put forth the effort to, call you guys and think about this. It's just, I feel like I see what you're saying. That's kind of how I've been living the past year or so because I was so closeted from life by my family, essentially. I was even homeschooled, so I didn't even have a normal homeschool growing up. So part of me is just like, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but, fuck it. And just do whatever I want and just go out and enjoy things. And that's what I'm trying to do. But again, that just takes me back to where it's all subjective. I guess that's,
well, I mean,
I guess if it's not subjective, your life has objective meaning, and then you're in what Christopher Hitchens calls like a celestial dictatorship. Somebody else made the objective rules, and you're subject to them. You're a slave.
Yeah, I think you said something earlier about you wish that you had this sort of belief system that your religious relatives have, because I guess that ties in with your belief that there's, for them at least, some kind of objective purpose. And I think from my experience
let me just pause you. I should clarify. I don't wish I had their belief.
Right.
I think their beliefs are ridiculous. I wish I had their sense of happiness and purpose.
Right. So what I'm going to suggest to you is, based on my conversations with a lot of theists, they're not that happy and purposeful. They actually express this often, that their beliefs give them a higher purpose and that they're extraordinarily happy. But when they run into struggles, their beliefs tend not to give them a lot of comfort. And I've known people that have experienced great loss. They lost a spouse, or they've had serious illness. They've struggled with mental health issues. I've talked to a lot of people in the LGBTQ community who've been horribly abused by religion, and they were conditioned to believe that religion was a good thing in their life and that it gave them some kind of purpose, and that they feel lost without it. And what I'm saying is that it's not the religion that gives people purpose. It gets the credit for it, but they're the ones who are actually giving their own lives purpose.
Yeah, to answer that, I kind of, you said whenever they encounter struggles, their beliefs kind of, fail to help them out. I would say my lack of belief does help me out, because I don't think like, oh, I did something wrong and I'm being punished. I'm just like, well, I didn't get that job. I'm still jobless or whatever.
It's the shit happens.
It's just the luck of the draw.
Right.
It's just, I hear a lot of, or at least read a lot of things about, why would you want to live in an atheistic world? Or I told someone the other day, I was in a public place just talking to a stranger, and I was like, yeah, I'm a nihilist and a Satanist. And she was freaked out. And she's like, why would you want to live in a world like that? And I'm like, after I calmed her down, first I had to calm her down and assure her I wasn't going to summon demons on her.
Right.
But then I was like, what makes you think I want to live in that kind of a world? I don't get to pick.
Yeah.
It's not fun to be like, whenever I die, I'm just going to be nothing like I was before I was born. It's not, knowing the truth isn't always comforting.
Well, that's like the prior call. That's like Levi, right? He was saying that, what is true is not contingent on what I believe. And that's what you're saying. You're saying it's not like a choice. If I see that, if this is what I'm convinced is, then that's what I have to cope with. It doesn't matter if I want to believe it.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to look for, you guys have answered it, but what I was trying to look for is just like, what are your two view on that? Just because, if everything is subjective, I guess what you said. I'm sorry, was it Tracie? I think I'm kind of new.
Well, I don't know which one of us. I don't know who said it.
First lady that answered my call.
Oh, me. Yeah, Tracie. That's right.
Okay. I think Tracie said, it's either subjective or it's objective. And if it's subjective, you just kind of have to, find your own happiness. And I guess that's the case. It's just,
to me, there's a sort of beauty, though. There's a kind of beauty in being able to make my values, to know that nobody is.
There is.
Yeah.
There's a certain beauty to realizing that you're.
That you can value.
At the same time that you're kind of enslaved to this lack of purpose, you're also free because you don't have one.
Yeah, it's like somebody said, someone gave you a wad of clay and said, make it. And you're like, make what? And they're just like, make it. And you get to make it whatever you want to make it.
Yeah.
It's just the problem is in 80 years, they're going to take it away. And then,
they're going to take it away, but you still made it. That's the thing. It's still your life, right? It's your life, and nobody else is ever going to live that life. At the end of your life, you're going to look back and say, was it a life well lived? Did I do the things I wanted to do? Am I proud of who I was? Do I feel good about the life I've lived? Or do I feel like I wasted it, for example, being a lawyer because my dad wanted me to be a lawyer? Right? What kind of hell is that? At the end of 80 years to be lying in a bed and saying, well, I was a really good lawyer, but sure wasn't what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah.
Jesus, man, how horrible would that be? Don't let that be you.
Because I literally lost about 95% of my life whenever I came out, just because I could not live a lie. It's just, like I said, I don't have that. That supposed purpose they have. And I understand part of this problem may be because I was so indoctrinated. Because I lacked like that spirit of I'll just call it like the sheep mentality, where you just follow what people say. I always had doubts like, this kind of seems like crap. Yeah. But when I dug myself out of it, it took 10 years, and I wonder if part of the reason I have this struggle is because I was so indoctrinated that you have a purpose, there's an afterlife, live for it.
I can't say what,
over and over.
I don't know what it is that, causes it, but at the same time, at some point, man, it is your life. This is yours. It's the one thing that you have that will always be yours as long as you're alive. And just make it yours. It sounds like you are making it yours.
Yeah, I would say, she's doing all the things she should be doing.
There is some pride in saying, this is I can choose, right? Even though I think it was Ted who was saying, it's all deterministic. And it probably is, But it's still this idea that part of that deterministic universe is my will. deterministic or not deterministic, it's still the things I want, no matter why I want them. And so I'm going to pursue what I want, no matter why I want them, right? As long as I'm not hurting somebody, no one's going to stop me. And if they try, then I'll band together with other people to say, hey, I'm not hurting anybody. Stop trying to stop me, right? I mean, that's the whole idea of just that idea about the pursuit of happiness, right?
Right.
That idea of making getting those obstacles off the field, letting people go after what they want.
Yeah.
You have that capacity to go after what you want. You're going after what you want, and there is a lot to be said for that. There's so much stuff in this universe that can't do that. It's an entire universe full of crap that doesn't have that want, doesn't have desires. And you have desires. And there's a whole universe of shit that can't value. And you are a thing that can value. And that's a rare commodity in this universe.
Well, I guess that's a slightly more positive way of looking at it, huh?
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm in there pitching.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not good at that. I think people tell me all the time about, stop being so negative. I'm like,
No, I'm not going to tell you to stop being so negative. I'm just going to say, here's how I look at it. And I don't know if that's helpful or not.
some negative people in the world to counterbalance those that are always happy.
Yeah. To smack me upside my head.
Got to be perfectly balanced, like Thanos says, right?
Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you so much for taking my call. I think you guys went over time, but I really appreciate it. I wanted your opinion. That's just something that's really been bothering me, and
well,
I agree with what you said. I don't want you to think that I'm, trying to fight back against that. It's just. It didn't seem. I wanted somebody else's opinion that I considered intelligent and smarter than me.
oh no! Then you called the wrong people.
Yeah.
You have called the wrong place.
Right place or wrong place, pretty much where you counted. But also, to everybody listening, next time you hear somebody say they're a Satanist, figure out what they believe before you decide that they run around summoning demons and eating children, because the vast majority of us don't.
Yeah, we know a lot of Satanists.
Yeah.
We're cool with it.
All right. Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It was an awesome call.
Thank you so much. You're lovely.
Yeah, thank you. I have to laugh because she said she was in her mid-20s, and I'm like, I wish my head was screwed on that tight.
Oh, yeah.
My mid-20s. Like, no,
Yeah, I was like,
wasn't.
this is.
I was running around preaching in my mid-20s. Like,
Yeah, so she's doing a lot
holy
in her
cow.
mid-20s.
Yeah, you got out early.
Yeah, she's got so much ahead of her. This is going to be cool.
Anyway, that was a fun call.